Yeah, he's not even playing. We got some guys back from injury too at receiver like Chark. So now you pair him with Amon-Ra, it looks a little better. I do think though, what team does this remind you of last year? I want Kalen you to start because I think you could name it. That started off slow and got going towards the end.
I don't know who you want to compare yourself to. Let's who you putting titles on
If
right
you
now.
say the Cincinnati Bengals, I will drive to your house the second this podcast is over, and I will drown you in your bathtub.
I
Well,
mean, there is something that I can. I mean,
Cincinnati Bengals.
yeah, I mean, I can understand why you're saying that because you guys do have an electric offense, right? I mean, that is what Cincinnati brought to the fold, was a team that can put up 30 points every single game and hopefully win with that 30 points. Your defense has definitely shown some growth, but and you got Jamison Williams coming back here. Anything is possible, but let's not go and say they're going to take a ride in the NFC to the finals here. Come on now.
I wouldn't say they're going to the finals, but I would say they're in that trajectory to get to the point where the Bengals were pretty bad the year before last year when Joe Burrow got hurt. Now you can see us stringing together a couple of wins. I don't think we make the playoffs because it's going to be tough. No, I think one team makes the playoffs in that division. And it's the Vikings, just because how they started the season. After that, next year you got to think it's either a wild card spot or bust, and Dan Campbell's out. I do think that.
The biggest problem is you guys are going to win enough games not to get a top quarterback. That's your biggest problem. You're going to win 7 games. You're going to bump out of the top 10. They're going to be gone. And like you can't roll with Jared Goff again. There's no way that Dan Campbell can keep rolling with him.
Well, I do agree with you on that one, Chad. Like you can't roll with Jared Goff, but this is a team that offensively they are set. Like your O line isn't going anywhere. You got wide receivers to spare. You got running backs. This offseason you can invest in defense. And I really that game against Chicago, that tackle on Montgomery that Aiden Hutchinson had, that was ridiculous. We like blitz on the goal line kind of thing.
Yeah,
those are the type of plays that you saw the Bosa brothers make for both the Chargers and for the Niners, that the Niners were able to build around. Like that's worth like 2.5 defenders right there, what he can do. He's kind of like that player that can be all over the field, doesn't just have to line up on the as an edge rusher in order to be successful. Again, you think you guys can really invest into the defensive side of the ball this offseason? I'm talking offseason already for you guys, but you guys just aren't that far off. Like offensively, like I said, everything is signed. You got an O-line that's super strong, and DeAndre Swift just seems to be getting better as the days go on. So
my real question is, are you going to sit Jamison Williams?
That's a very
and I'm being serious. I'm not being a smart ass. I don't make fun of your Lions all the time. Like his
I get it.
Growth can be so big. Like his ceiling is so high. He's coming off major surgery. If the season's done, if you're not contending for a playoff spot, I don't see any benefit of him coming in as a receiver. If he was a quarterback, I think, yes, you get him out there to see where you're at, see what you have. But the way the NFL is now, rookie and young receivers pick it up so fast because it's such a college game now. I think bringing him in and risking a chance of him being injured literally could be so detrimental to his future and his growth. Like, if he gets hit and then he's not ready, now he's out next year, then what? It's a weirdly touchy-feely subject. I understand, like, as a fan, you want to see your first-round draft pick on the field as a fan base, but you have to think long-term. And if you're not there, and he's not, yes, can he make your team better? Yes, I agree with that. But if he's not going to take you guys to the next level where you can get into the playoffs, I don't see how it benefits you in the long run.
No, that's exactly what I was going to say. I'm actually in between on it because if we're not in a playoff run, I'd really rather not see a guy go in that doesn't need to be playing. Whereas on the other hand, if we're making a run towards the playoffs, you might have to play him. And then you're in my middle spot is, well, what if we play him and kind of see what he can do? But that's always too risky in football. You've seen it many times. You put a guy in there and you're like, hopefully he doesn't get hurt. What happens? Knee bust, something like that happens. So it's right in between. I do have one question for you guys, though, and this is kind of heading into a different team, still based off the Lions. The Lions pick that they got from the Rams, is the Rams pick going to be higher than the Lions?
It very well could.
Yeah.
Like, that's wild. The fact that, this Rams pick that you gave up, they're like, yeah, we're going to give you pick
first
28 to 32 is probably what they thought when they went and got Matt Stafford. And we're all like, that's a great deal. It's a first-round pick. This thing could be a top 7 or 8 pick for a quarterback who's on the tail end. Do you just have the one pick left, or do you have 2?
We have a first and a second or third, I think. But we for sure have the first because last year we traded our first and our second to get Jameson Williams. So
Okay.
we still have a first. We still have a first from them. So we have 2 firsts this year.
That's absolutely wild.
Yeah.
Now, coming to Williams back there, like whether or not you're going to play him or not, 4 of the last 7 games you have are at home. So you're inside. Like, I almost think that at the end of the season, for a kid that has been off, to take the advantage of playing indoors and not playing through cold weather.
You're going to put somebody on turf, Kalen, of all people. You're the one putting somebody on turf.
Yeah, I know. Hey, listen, that sounds like crazy for me to say that, right? No, but my thing is, you guys have made some very some poignant points in the past where if it went that easily, like OBJ, for example, in the Super Bowl, something else, it was already going to happen. You know, whether he was walking down the stairs at the restaurant later or, you know what, it was already going to happen. It was already weakened at that point. But I look at this, and again, I just come back to the kid needs some kind of experience, right? If we can test the kid's explosiveness and not put him on grass, like shitty fields like Soldier Field or Pittsburgh in November kind of thing, like it could be a bad field, take the advantage, take the opportunity to get a few reps out of him, especially in his home crowd. Like if he's going to have over 50% of his games is going to be in front of his home fans that are going to be riding that first round pick wave. Like I think that it's a good time, especially when your offense is just fucking chugging, because you don't need to lean on it. If this kid comes out and falters, okay, that's fine. We can still implement him into the offense next year with a full offseason of work with him, right? But if he comes out and he's even better, and that 30 point a game, 30 points per game you guys have been averaging could be 40 points a game or 42 points per game, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. It's a tough decision. I don't know what the Lions are going to do with it. Just got to kind of see what's going to happen. If they play them, they play them. If they don't, they don't. I just hope the kids can live up to be a number 1, even a number 2, because we've seen a Monrock and do great things. So that'd be 2 receivers that 1-2 punch that could be very good.
You're going to let him talk about Amon St. Brown being as a 1 right there, but you wouldn't give AJ a 1 back when he was in Tennessee? Chad,
but I like him more than you.
I get it because he's family.
Debatable. I don't really love all my family. All right, we got to wrap this one up. We can definitely talk about WR1s and WR2s and how bad the Titans need a real WR1 these days. But we got to talk. We have a special guest coming on, Dyson Roberts, punter from South Carolina State, who is actually the top puncher in the HBCU. He's just bombing kicks all day long. And once again, the guys who don't like kicking have brought on another punter because, as Josh said, we're doing it for the brand. So he'll be on any moment now, and we're going to get going with him and hear about what he's doing down in South Carolina. Yeah, no. Can we just talk about the Jets for a second? They averaged 2 inches of play in the second half. Can we just? Is it time to give up on Zach Wilson?
Sure, sounds like it from coach speak today.
They put his stats up against a quarterback who is not very good in the past. Josh, you will not know who it is because I don't know if you're born yet. But Kalen, can you think of a top pick whose first 2 years were very similar to Zach Wilson's?
Is it Jamarcus Russell?
It was Jamarcus Russell, the biggest bust in NFL history. And that's where Zach Wilson is lining up against. And so,
I'm not willing to call him that far yet. The kid is definitely seeing ghosts. I mean, we obviously saw what Flacco was able to do earlier in the season when he was injured, and the offense didn't miss a whole lot of beats. They leaned on the running game. Right now, the running backs are a little bit dinged up, so that's going to unfortunately affect their offense. But you can only make it as basic as you possibly can and make fun of Trevor Lawrence and what he's got going on down there.
Don't you get me started on Trevor Lawrence.
Super basic offense in Jacksonville. But then you look at what they're doing in New York, and like, Jesus, if they didn't have Sauce Gardner there and a defense that has been, playing, I guess, top tier, at least the top 10 in the NFL almost the entire season, where would this team even be? I'm certainly don't think they'd be sitting with 6 wins, right?
There he is. What's going on, man? How you doing?
Good. How about y'all?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Thanks for coming on.
No problem. I'm trying to get situated real quick.
No worries. Yeah, no, I don't know what's going on in New York, man. They got to figure that out real quick because it's getting out of hand. They're going to lose everybody. Are you giving us a tour?
No. What a day, what a day.
You still at practice?
Nah, I just did a little workout not so long ago.
Dyson, nice to meet you, my man. I'm Kalen.
What's up, man? I'm Dyson. Nice to meet y'all.
Yeah, for sure. Nice shirt, man.
So I do have a quick question for you first before we dive into this. Your Instagram handle is I am Hollywood. How do you get the nickname Hollywood? Because I need to know. Because I think I'm Hollywood a lot, but I don't know if I could go by that name.
Oh man, so I get fun in the nation, man. I feel like, man, there's not too many people like me.
Dig it.
Yeah. I've seen some of your highlights. I've seen you kick a ball probably further than the three of us combined, with better hang time as well. And one of my favorite parts is you're flexing on dudes afterwards. There's a highlight where you just jack this kid up, and like he didn't see you coming, and you like everybody always talks about Pat McAfee, how you hit guys. Man, you kicked this kid's feet out from underneath him. You hit him so hard.
So, like, Tyson, how did you get to become a punter? You always a kicker, play soccer? Like, how did that happen for you?
Coming up, I played soccer all my life, so football it was instant. After everything, trying to play receiver stuff like that, it didn't work out too well. So ended up playing kicker and punter, worked out very well for me.
So did you get into that late in your school career? Like, how old were you when you started playing football and getting into the punting?
I started kicking in middle school.
Okay.
But I really didn't like take it serious potential wise till like high school for real.
So now, like, in anybody in the league right now, I mean, because you got into a little bit late, have you been following? Are there certain punters that you follow? Are there certain guys you try to emulate? Are there people you've trained with in the off season?
I went to high school with Percy Harvey. He was a senior when I was a freshman, so I learned a lot from him a little bit. And he used to come back home, teach me a little stuff here and there, give me some tips, we'll stay in touch. And then after the Celebration Bowl, I started getting in touch with Marquette King a lot. Man, got a lot of tips from here and there. Trying to get in touch with Pat McAfee, he ain't been back.
Yeah, we've been trying for years. We're not getting anywhere closer.
The reason why I ask you about the punters that you follow, I know we're going for two. We're not exactly the kicker friendly show here, but I'm a Titans fan, and I've referred to punters as weapons in the past. We had a guy named Brett Kern for about 13 years on our team that was a weapon, and now we've got this rookie kicker named Ryan Stonehouse who played at Colorado, set some records in college, actually kicking the furthest, and now he's putting the NFL on fire as well, being a weapon. Do you view yourself as that? Are you a pin those guys inside the 10-yard kind of weapon? Or are you going to be the guy that's going to hang it out there so high and long that you're going to hit them? Is that the type of weapon that you are?
I feel like, me personally, I'm a weapon. You can really do what you want with me. Like, throw the ball, run the ball, kick the ball, pin it. It don't matter. I'm locked in. I can do whatever you want me to do, honestly.
So he's going to get that chat. He's the one that's in the coach's ears that's saying, fake, right? I don't need to kick it this time. Give me the fake.
Record.
Hey, if I got an athlete on the field, I'll put the ball in his hands anytime. We had a punter 3 years ago. He had a green light whenever he chose. He played tier 1 rugby, and he did that like runoff kick. I don't know what it's called, that rugby style kick. And he literally, we gave him a green. This guy was literally 6'2". He played DN for us. He was 6'2", like 260, and he probably ran like a 4.8 40. So we said, hey man, you gotta give a green light. If you see it, go.
That's great.
And I seen that guy pull it down a couple times. Wow. And then he drank beer with the best of them after the game. He was like a straight rugby player through and through. So you said you're a big soccer guy. Obviously the World Cup's starting. I could give not two shits who wins or whatever happens. But I know Caitlin, I know you care.
Yeah.
Who are you cheering for in the World Cup?
France. I'm a Ronaldo fan, but France because I like Mbappe too. So
Mbappe, man, that team is just so fast and just so concise, man. Like that is such a fun team to watch from top to bottom. They remind me of like the Belgium and the Netherlands, 10, 15 years ago kind of thing.
Too much speed.
That's right, man.
Yeah, so that's who I'm picking to win, by the way. So this is on you. Tyson, I'm taking France to win now because you told me they're the fastest team there. So.
Hey, Ronaldo might go crazy. He says it's his last cup. So I don't know.
That was a pretty sweet Nike commercial that Ronaldo and Mbappe did too. I don't know if you saw that one or not, where they come out of like the factory and who's going to be better, and they start bringing out all the old Ronaldinhos and old Ronaldos and stuff like that. It was pretty rad.
Yeah, that was a pretty smooth one. I didn't see the full. I saw a little glimpse of it on TikTok. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
I got
yeah, go ahead, Josh.
Chad. Okay,
No,
I'll
you go.
go ahead. Yeah. As a guy that's still playing football myself, what was your recruitment process like and those sorts of things? Like, did you know it was South Carolina State, or did you have like other thoughts in mind?
South Carolina State was the only school that gave me money. I really didn't have too many big time offers. I didn't have no big Division I schools. I had small HBCUs that would be walk on stuff like that. But South Carolina State trusted me enough to give me money, so I went with the opportunity I had. So.
For sure. And do you see yourself just staying there, or transfer portal? I don't know if you can talk about it, but what's your goal with football, or do you want to like sort of thing, or what do you think?
I want to see what I can do in the Power Five. I mean, I was ranked 11th in the nation. I feel like Power Five schools got individual kicking coaches, so if I get that coaching, I feel like number one with ease probably. So yeah, I don't know. I got to see what school will set my play style for real. I don't know. Too many colleges that do.
For sure. I go ahead, Caitlin.
I was just, I'm cruising over your stats here. You talked about being like a highly ranked punter here. You had a 74-yard punt last season. That was your long 61 this season. You even get it over 60 yards. Like, how does that even happen? Is it feel like when you're swinging a bat and you hit the ball, you don't even feel it kind of thing? Or like you feel that thud? 74 yards. Like, that's ridiculous.
This past year, I did an 80-yard against Bethune-Cookman. I guess they didn't put it on ESPN for real.
80 yards? That's your
Yeah, I got film if you want to see. I got film.
Yeah, I did see the tape. Tape don't lie.
But it's what my coach taught me, my college coach taught me. He said just look at it like golf. He was like, you hit it hard, the ball not gonna go far because you try to chunk it. But if you hit it just solid, it's gonna fly. So you hit it solid with the right wind being outside, the ball gonna fly. So.
Man, that's one of my favorite lines in golf. It's not your job to hit the ball. It's the club's job. You just swing it, right? So I like that, what you just brought into that philosophy. I love it, my man. But yeah, 80 yards. I definitely got to look that up after this because that's insane. I couldn't even imagine flipping the field like that. Now, did you pin him or did it happen to trickle through the end zone? Like, that's ridiculous.
Actually, shout out my teammate, Rich Ford. He ran down, toe tap on the one, threw it back to my player. He caught it.
So you netted 80. Not only did you kick it 80, you netted 80.
That's just insane, man.
Yeah.
That's when you hang out with your gunners that night for a few extra hours, right?
Yeah. Of course, you got to show them a little extra love after the game, man.
Yeah, you just made that asshole run 80 yards.
That's so good.
Hope you bought him around.
We have fun. We have fun back at school.
So you back home now? Then it's Thanksgiving week already now. So you back home then, or are you still at school?
Yeah, I'm back at home. I'm at my day one. My brother. Yeah, I'm at his house right now. We chilling, having fun right now, catching up.
So what is the go-to meal on Thanksgiving? Like, we know we're not gonna watch football all day. What's the go-to meal?
The go-to meal?
Yeah, like, what's the best part of Thanksgiving dinner? I gave you the hard questions. Josh comes in with the softballs, but you're recruiting process. I'm coming in with the real
Thanksgiving. I don't know, just the fact that I get to put on a little bit more weight.
No holds barred, get that stuffing in you, right?
Yeah, just get everything, man. I try to eat everything I can. I can't no more for real.
Do you take it all back with you too? Pack
yeah, it took me like 2-3 plates back.
How far are you from the school?
Huh?
How far are you from school? Like, where's your home at?
I'm an hour. I stay in something. So it's Orangeburg is an hour away. So smooth drive.
I don't know if you saw any news here. I mean, you go to an HBCU school, right? And then obviously your conference is making some noises here with coaches like Deion Sanders being around and kind of getting that recruiting back into those kind of conferences, those divisions. There's been some noise coming out so far that, Deion may be looking at offers here in Division I and maybe making to make a move and grow his image as well. Do you think that the HBCU as a whole has grown enough over the last, few 5 years that Deion's been there to continue this momentum? Or do you think that there's going to be a bit of a drop off and a gap and there's going to be some sort of work that still needs to be done if Deion was to leave?
I feel like whenever Deion leaves, we probably gonna go back to where we were. Honestly, Dion brings the revenue, brings the clout, the attention, everything. So it gives not only us players a chance to put on for a bigger stage because he's here, but to show him talent. So maybe if we need a recommendation, he could vouch for us to coaches and stuff like that. Recommend us to coaches that they don't see, that recruiters don't see, stuff like that.
Yeah. Now, you as somebody who's been like right involved in that process and everything, like, have you seen the momentum start to gather in the HBCU schools? Like, are you seeing that at all? That the rallies getting bigger and the recruitment bigger, or what are you seeing?
I feel like whenever we play them per se, like that exact team, that's like the biggest attention that we ever get. Even like playing money games, Power Five schools, I feel like we get more attention playing them than ever. Especially like at Celebration Bowl, it's the most attention you ever gonna get because we play Jackson State, National HBCU Championship. So that's your chance.
That you mentioned Power Five schools. I have one last question. Sorry, cutting you guys off there. You played in some pretty big, attendance. Then, what's the biggest stadium that you've probably been inside of, and what is that like? When some of the guys, I've never obviously stepped foot into an SEC stadium, but you hear some of these NFL players that are like, "Oh, I've been in an SEC stadium." Those guys are way louder than these NFL crowds can be, kind of thing. What is the loudest stadium that you've been in, or the funnest experience that you've had as well?
The loudest stadium I've been in, it's a tie between Clemson and UCF.
Okay,
but
Central Florida, really?
Yeah, UCF student section is crazy. It's
really.
That's right, Lakeland, man. They got nothing going for them.
Crazy. But
like I have family in Lakeland, so I can say that.
but Carolina, since they got their new lights, like when they score a touchdown, those lights and everything on top of that, it's like crazy. It's fun experience, but it's like it's bad that they scored, but it's like
yeah,
crazy. And then at halftime, whenever we came out, the whole stadium went pitch black. So and then it turned red. So I was like, man, I gotta play something like this. I got to.
Yeah, like watching them Tennessee, when they was super dark and all orange and everything, that pitch they had there, that would have been really fun to be a part of for sure. Yeah.
And then storming the field, and then the fans storming the field, like I want to see what that experience is about too.
Rip that goalpost out and take it down to the river, or what?
Yeah, like that's crazy. I want to see what that's about. Real.
Yeah, no, man. I also want to say thanks for coming on. Obviously, it's been nice to meet you, and I could talk to you on the phone the other day too. Obviously, you have a massive future ahead of you. We're going to be watching you now. Now we expect you to come back, though. That's one of the things we always follow you the next 4 years. We don't just give up on you on one day. So we expect you to be coming back to us next year.
Wait, are you friends with our boy Aiden out in Clemson? You mentioned you played in Clemson there. Are you friends with our boy Aiden over there?
I'm cool with BT Potter. Me and BT Potter, we had a couple conversations here and there.
Okay, rad. We got a lot of connections with different kickers around the nation here. It seems to be we make connections with you guys more than we make connections with anybody else. And our names, it just seems to scare you away, you would think, right?
Nah, man. I'm glad y'all had me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll make this happen again. We're getting a year-end show, a Super Bowl kind of thing. We definitely got to have you back on then and see what the offseason training's been like.
For sure. Offseason about to be crazy.
Hopefully the pounds will be gone by then from Thanksgiving, right?
Nah, I'm trying to
Christmas is on next.
The Christmas is, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Right. Well, that cuffing season, right? Is that what they call it?
I'm swell up. This swell up season for me, man. I gotta.
All right, Dyson, man. Have a good night, man. We thank you for coming on.
I appreciate y'all for having me.
Take care, man.
Nice, man. You have a good night, brother.
All right.
That's awesome. These kickers, man, I tell you, maybe I don't even want to get a wide receiver or quarterback on. We've had some good linemen on. That's been true.
Linemen and kickers are the funnest people on football teams.
It sure seems that way, right?
Yeah, like all specialists, like they all hang out together. Linemen hang out together. Like they just have they're like their own unique people. Like they all know each other. That's like the one cool thing. It's a little fraternity of kickers, right? So we're just building up our roster here. We don't like the all kick team one year. That's all we need, man. We need a long snapper next, though. That's what
I was just about to say. Long snapper or some holders, you know?
Yeah, we get a long snapper holder. Oh,
Josh, there might still be a position for you left in the football game, buddy.
We can be a holder.
There you go, long snapper.
I've held before once. They took me
It's
off
not
and I
as
felt
easy as
fire,
people
fire,
think.
fire,
I
and
had
threw
a
the
hold
ball.
back. I held back in the day too. It's not as easy as people think.
No.
It's difficult. And just like he said, I was one of those guys that just said fire, 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 and went to go throw the ball. No, that was awesome.
No, man, that kid's stats are unreal. He just booms the
Yeah.
ball.
80
His,
yards, bro. Like,
have you seen his highlight tape, Caleb?
no, I didn't even get the chance to look at it. That's what I'm saying.
There-
If he's telling me he's hitting 80 yards, I got to take a look at it.
Like there's this one I'm telling you when he hits this kid. Like, and usually when a puncher hits a kid, it's because like you're the last line of defense. This kid only returned the ball like 7 yards.
And this is at like sea level. He's in the Carolinas. He's not punting out in Mile High in Denver like my punter Stonehouse was doing.
Yeah, no, this kid just runs and bombs the ball, and he's ready there to make a play. Those are the guys like that on your team. That's all I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, let's get back to some NFL now. Big shout out to Dyson for coming on, obviously. We talked lots about the Lions. We've talked about the Jets a little bit. Is it safe to say that Patrick Mahomes is going to be the MVP?
That the who?
Patrick Mahomes will be the MVP.
Yeah. I mean that makes sense. Yeah. The guy's just done everything that we thought he wasn't going to be able to do with the wide receiving core that he has, that has been banged up throughout the entire season. It just shows that I've made fun of Kelsey earlier this year, saying that he's lost a step. Did he? They ran the exact same. Andy Reid came out and said they ran the exact same play to win this game against the Chargers that they did last season, right? So nothing's changed there. They're still leaning on Kelsey when they need to. Doesn't matter if he's older or not. Mahomes is still doing that one pass that he had. I don't know if you saw the angle, but it was from behind him, and it was on the corner when the corner tackled the wide receiver at like the 5-yard line or whatever. But the corner turned his head, and the ball went basically across his face mask into the wide receiver's hands. It was just perfect. What else can you do? You can't play defense any better than that, right?
No, he's on a different level right now. He's in a different world right now. Unfortunately, I think Justin Jefferson, and Josh Allen were the two other guys who were up there. And they're not anywhere near what Patrick Mahomes is. And
Allen, unfortunately, has just had too many fumbles. He's had too many turnovers in the last 4 weeks that has really kind of taken his name out of it, right?
Yeah, it was his award to lose, and he definitely lost it. But yeah, no, I think Patrick Mahomes on a different level. It was nice to see the Chargers play better, I guess is the best way to put it. Because they were horrible at the beginning of the season. They kind of got it back around. Josh Palmer, huge shout out to that Canadian kid too, stepping up when they needed it most. Huge game from him last night. And Justin Herbert's getting it done now with very minimal weapons. But they just can't, unfortunately, I don't think anybody's going to take Kansas City in the West.
Well, you look at the West, not for sure, but you look at the next closest quarterback that would probably compare to him. You're looking at Jalen Hurts, right? I mean, that's
Hurts, yeah.
Jalen Hurts is 800 yards less passing than Patrick Mahomes. Now, I understand that they're a running offense over there in Philadelphia, and he's got some rushing yards here, but that's a significant difference when you start looking at things, right? He's also got A.J. Brown. It's certainly better than all the wide receivers that you're going to have over there in Kansas City. So. He's able to lean on that a little bit there. And Dallas Goedert is still no slouch. He's been injured, right? But they still got a lot of offensive players. It's they certainly could pass if they wanted to, but Mahomes is doing it all. They can't run the freaking ball. They've
never been able to run the ball though.
Never. And CEH now is going to got a high ankle sprain, so he's down again for another 4 to 5 weeks potentially, right? So it's not going to get any prettier running the ball down there in Kansas City.
No, not at all. And it's just going to be the same shit every year. We know they're going to walk into the playoffs. They're going to have to learn how to run the football, though, because that's how you're going to control the clock against these. Luckily now, you don't have to go to Buffalo. I think Buffalo's taken himself out of that 1 seed now, pretty much. And the AFC is going to have to go through Kansas City, which no one's going to want to go there. But they still get shit weather there, too.
Yeah. And I mean, the rest of their season is pretty cupcake, really. Right? You look at them, they got the Bengals, maybe a tough game. They got a couple of division games that might matter, right? But grand scheme of things, these boys you're right. They're probably going to cakewalk here in the first place.
And unfortunately, your Titans they're a good football team. I just don't know if defensively you can stop the passing offense of the Chiefs.
So I'm glad that you brought that up, Chad. You know that we played them a couple of weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
5 starting defenders did not play that game, and we had Malik fucking Willis playing the game. We lost in overtime.
That's fine.
Come on. If there's
You'll lose again with Tannehill. I'm not trying to be an asshole about it.
No, I mean,
I just don't. I'm just saying, I don't think you guys are the dogs on defense to keep up that passing offense.
Well, to be fair, I mean, I think we're 5-2 against them since Vrabel took over. I mean, and that's including the playoffs, which unfortunately is going to be one that they win the Super Bowl on. But like, it's the same thing now. This year again is going to look bad because we lost by 40 friggin' points to the Bills. But it's the same script that they use against Allen that they've used and been successful to pass with that they used against KC. You just got to make sure you get him out scrambling to the left. Get him, and now that, mind you, Mahomes is a fucking freak. He's going to be able to pass some balls from pretty ridiculously ridiculous angles. But I'm not afraid of Kansas City in Kansas City. I'm afraid of Buffalo. I don't want to play Buffalo. I want to play anybody. If the playoffs would end right now or start right now, actually, I think we'd be matched up against New England. So
that's a weird situation going on in New England as well. Don't even like
defense is just so
zippy.
Holy Christ!
At
right?
what point do you move on from Mac Jones?
Well, here's the thing:
Detroit.
Like Mac Jones just doesn't sling it, right? Like Bailey Zappi is at least willing to get the ball out of his hands, right?
Yeah, no, Mac he's definitely had a tough year this year. And the defense isn't better. But can we? So like they win yesterday. I don't know if they should have won or not because the Jets played horrible too. Like they won a game on a punt return, like almost like pretty much like a walk off. And I don't want to sit here and blame the refs. Like I try not to blame the refs at any and all costs because I think it's like the loser's mentality and loser's way out. But how do you miss a block on the back that wins the game?
That was bad.
Well, because Dragic didn't want them to win. That's why. Come on, you know how this happens.
Well, I'm fully aware of that.
That's a conspiracy theorist, right? Somebody was in the ear of the ref.
But my whole thing is that play changes the game. That doesn't mean that I think they're on the 15-yard line. It's be 15-yard penalty, put them back to the 30-ish. You're kicking about a 47-yard field goal. Not a chip shot by any means, especially in November in cold weather. But like it gives the Jets a chance. And to let a game end like that, I think is absolutely atrocious and horrible. And I said, I don't want to invest in the game. I don't care who wins. And I said, I don't like to blame the refs, but you can't let that dictate how the game ends. And it's so bad that the commentators, who were supposed to be neutral, exact words were, can someone please tell me how that wasn't a flag?
Well, and yet these refs and line judges, whatever, they will see the most ticky-tack friggin' holding calls in amongst 6 or 7 linemen bottling up against each other, and then they miss this. This is what enrages the fans, right? The face mask on Dallas Goedert that didn't get called, that blew the game for them. And then back-to-back weeks, you have that missed block in the back that won the game essentially for them. And then you've got, a week ago was that late hit on the sliding quarterback against Heineke for the win. Yeah. Absolutely awful for football. I don't care what the letter of the rule is or not. There was no ill intent in any of that. This guy wasn't jumping on him in order to hurt him. He was simply sliding in to try and touch him, make contact of some kind. This is football, right? Like that, to have that, and then you have this as another, I don't know if you watched the game. It was boring for a lot of people to watch, but if you like a defensive type game, I like the Jets, what they've got to bring right now on defense because of Sauce Gardner. I like the way that New England is still somehow winning games through their defense, so they're kind of fun to watch. To have a game lost like that or won like that, I just don't think it does anything for the game, unfortunately.
No. At one point, the Jets had, I think it said 5 sacks. So I think that was only the third quarters. They probably had more than that by the end of it. Like their defense is some fierce. They're definitely bringing that San Francisco attitude that Saleh had there, and the way the other linebackers and front guys play. They built that team from the interior out, and then they got a corner they can always rely on. So great things there. So to lose a game like that is horrible. And I think defensive, their players have every right to be upset with their offense. And then, unfortunately, you lose on a specialist play and on a horrible missed call, which I don't know how they let that one slide.
Well, forget letting that slide. How do you let slide Zach Wilson saying no, that he let when he was asked if he let the defense down? No. Come on, man. Really? This has not just been your team. This has been something that's happened that we haven't heard. I've never heard teammates calling out other teammates in football like that before publicly. This season, we've seen this is like the third team now so far where the defense is calling out the offense or the offense is calling out the defense. It's usually the defense calling out the offense. But what are you doing here, guys? Like I know the Jets, nobody publicly came out and said anything, but obviously somebody said something if the rumblings are already there, right? We saw what Jalen Ramsey looked like when he called out his offense. that was the beginning of the end for the Rams. You guys are 6-4 right now. Like, just get on the wave and ride it. Do what you can for the rest of the season against a division that's been faltering themselves, right? You can catch up here. In an AFC that has been all over the place. We thought there was going to be 4 teams coming out of the AFC West. Maybe we could have 3 coming out of the AFC East, and you be one of them.
It's a wide open playoff picture. It's a wide open playoff picture. That's all I have to say about like that kind of scenario, especially in the AFC. Like, how many teams this year have won, and you're just like, holy they might make the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the Ravens can't even score points right now. I could see, well, the Bengals will make it out. Who knows about the Steelers? Like, I don't know. I just don't have no trust in Lamar Jackson, even after yesterday's performance, making a playoff run.
No, yeah. I think the AFC, like, it's so top heavy between the Bills, the Chiefs, and the Titans. Like, I think those are your 3 best teams in the AFC. And on any given day, I think any of those teams could win against each other. Josh Allen, I think, is the biggest wild card because I don't know if he's believing his own hype or he's trying to do too much. I'm not sure which one it is, but he needs to settle down. He's playing horrible in the red zone, and I don't know how Stephon Diggs has 1 target going into halftime. Like, you can't do that. Like, if that was Justin Jefferson in Minnesota, they'd be literally calling for Kirk Cousins' head. They would be saying Kirk Cousins is the worst quarterback that has ever lived. Josh Allen doesn't throw up a target, and no one bats an eye about it.
Yeah.
So what's really going on in Buffalo? That's my question. You have probably a top 5 receiver in the league who needs to get the ball, and you have some of the surest hands in the NFL, and you don't target them, and you're turning the ball over. So, like, those 2 things I have a lot of questions about as an offensive guy.
Yeah.
And then in the NFC, it's just, I think the San Francisco is the biggest wild card that there is right now. We don't know who they are, what they're going to be. And they have Arizona tonight against Colt McCoy, Kalen's favorite quarterback of all time.
Texas Longhorns.
Listen, they would have won a championship if he didn't get injured in that fucking game. Don't you give me that right now, okay?
Hey, I was a Colt McCoy fan. I was in college.
Jesus. Now,
does he still have the record for most wins?
What's that?
Does he still have the most records for wins by quarterback?
Colt McCoy?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Right now, yeah. That won't last long, though. Don't worry. Now, NFC, though, we're looking at I want to look at the Philadelphia Eagles. This is one of the rare times. I don't know. I didn't want them to actually win as in the Colts because them winning could, derail the AFC South here a little bit. But this, did you catch the way that the Eagles won and the way that Sirianni reacted at the end of the game there? Mouth and all, high-fiving his fans or whatever. There's still 30 seconds left on the clock or whatever. He takes the heads up, and he's pointing at Colts fans and making fun of him. Didn't Sirianni come from the Indianapolis Colts? Didn't he learn what he learned in Indianapolis Colts? What are you doing, cussing out a lower-tier team and making fun of their fan base after having to come from behind to beat them? You guys are 8-1 walking into that game. You got a coach on the other side of the field that's the mockery of everybody else in the NFL right now as far as all the analysts, and it takes you a come-from-behind victory, and then you want to get up in the Colts fans' faces. Give me a fucking break, Sirianni. Win something. You're 9-1 in the regular season. This guy hasn't done anything in the playoffs. Let's see what he can do.
So my next question, I'm glad you brought it up, not me. Has Jeff Saturday gained some respect?
Listen, it's a trap. I've talked about trap games all the time, right? They beat a depleted Raiders team 2 weeks ago. I'm not going to put any solace on that. Did they look good against a Philadelphia team? Sure. Did Philly maybe come into that game under-expecting or undervaluing what the Colts could have brought to the table, missing a defense in Shaquille Leonard and missing some other key components there? Maybe. Like, I'm not willing. I hate it. Sucks.
I'm not saying that Jeff Saturday is the coach of the year. I'm not saying that by any means. I'm just saying, has he gained some respect from being the laughing joke of football that he was 3 weeks ago? That's what I'm trying to say. Like, are people going to take him a bit more serious now? That's what I'm trying to say. Because I think the players are responding to him. I'll give them that.
Well, hey, Jonathan Taylor's playing well. The offensive line, that being said, that left tackle got spanked yesterday. 3 straight downs he got spanked when they were trying to come from behind the Colts on their final drive there, which was unfortunate. But leading up to that, the offensive line actually played really, really well. It has played really, really well under Jeff Saturday. My big thing is that offensive linemen typically don't make good coaches, like head coaches. The last offensive lineman that was a head coach was Mike Munchak for the Tennessee Titans. Lasted a whole year and a half, and then he got canned, and he went to Pittsburgh, and he saved the day in Pittsburgh with the offensive line. And then he went over to Denver, and he did the same thing over there in Denver. Let these offensive linemen be coaches of their position. I just don't see how a center is going to be able to orchestrate an offense or get inside of a defense's head outside of this is the motions that I did the block. This is the motions that beat me. There's nothing I don't think that you can add to the game. Maybe leadership. Maybe that's what it is. But I just don't see him doing the drills with the linebackers that you see somebody like Mike Vrabel doing, as an example.
I also don't see Mike Vrabel playing quarterback. So I think there's a double-edged sword here. Stop it. But yeah, I think he's gained. I wouldn't say people are saying I don't think he's a joke anymore. I think people are too, because the way the team has rallied around him, they've played better the last 2 weeks. Do I think they're going to win 4 games? No, I don't. Do I think that he has a coaching job next year? I hope it's as a position coach. I hope he can take that role. Because, yeah, what I don't think people understand too, and like I'm going to be a little bit biased here, he played center with probably arguably the smartest quarterback who's ever played. And they had to be on the same page. And he also went toe-to-toe with the smartest quarterback who's ever played. And said his voice and got his opinion across in a respectful way. There's always that mic up with the two of them fighting on the sidelines. I don't think that was an everyday thing. But obviously, for a guy to be able to do that, he had the respect of that locker room because no one stopped him from getting into it. So obviously, then as a player, he had respect from everybody, including Peyton Manning. And to this day, they still speak so highly of each other. So obviously, he is super smart because I don't think he lasted that long with Peyton Manning as a guy calling the shots and calling the audibles from the line. But yes, I do agree. Like, can he coach defense? I don't know. I have no idea. But I don't know if making him a head coach was the right thing, but I guess there's only one way to find out. And then are we opening the door for other players to get this special treatment? Because like a lot of guys don't want to start coaching at 40 years old to go to the bottom of the barrel and start being a coaching assistant. So is this going to be a new trend? Because there's probably lots of guys in the NFL that could become coaches.
I think you still think you need a resume. Like, are we going to look at this all leader amongst men type thing? Like, how many coaches can be hired as a leader? Well, even like they have to be offensive minded right now. Not many coaches are going to be defensive minded, and when they do, that they become instantly the losing hired coach of everybody of the carousel, right? But I don't know. Like these player minded coaches, maybe I'm biased. There's only one Vrabel, boys. There's only going to be one Vrabel, I think. Like this can only happen. The type of players like I'm coming into the NHL now. The Martin St. Louis that are doing it in Montreal. Those are like diamond in the rough type players. I just don't. Some guy that negotiated a CBA 15 years ago to me doesn't mean anything. I just don't see that guy's going to be this leader amongst men. And when you mentioned about him being with Peyton Manning, to me, that's my second degree on him. It's like you didn't have to do anything. Most of the time, your center has to be the smartest player on the field. Your quarterback was out there who did all the protection calls for you, who did the 3 calls in the huddle, and then hot road or audible to one of the 3 calls at the line. He did everything for you, I feel. Let's remember that, like, when Peyton left, Jeff Saturday still stuck around, right? And it wasn't like they were a boss team by any means, right? So I feel like it's not necessarily Jeff Saturday that did it. I think his claim to fame is the fact that he negotiated the CBA, and great for him. But I hate that he's called himself, I know how to lead men. I know how to lead men. The guy looked absolutely dumbfounded after that score happened. Like, if it was anybody that knew how to lead men, maybe your left tackle would have taken 3 straight sacks to put you 4th and 16,
Well, I have no problem with them wanting to hire a guy that can lead men. The thing is, if you're going to get a coach like that, then your offensive and defensive coordinators have to be very, very good. And we've seen it happen. Like, it can happen. So if you get 2 guys in there that can lead your offense scheme-wise and lead your defense scheme-wise, and then have that head coach lead your players, then I personally don't think it's a bad thing. And if he does string together wins, I could see him staying. All that matters in the league is winning. It's winning, and if you win, then you have a job.
You know why you were saying this so much there, Josh, is because you have a player coach that you want to pan out too, don't you?
Well, that's part of it, but I'm just saying, like, you can see it happen. You have one yourself. You can see it happen. You know, you need an offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator that can help you out. And I think with the Lions' new offensive coordinator, that's why they're being able to do well on offense. We've seen with Anthony Lynn there last year, and he was a head coach at one point. What did he do? Right? Nothing. So.
Yeah. Well, look what's happening in Tampa. We have a joke of a coach, so, and that guy's been around forever.
Yeah.
Todd Bowles is a loser. He's coached everywhere. So
yeah,
it's one of those things. It's like I don't have the right answer for it. We can all talk with Facebook opinions on it. At the end of the day, as Josh said, like if Jeff Saturday wins a couple games, he's probably gonna have a job next year. If he doesn't win any games, it was a nice audition. I think the part that throws people off is he's admitting it's an audition. Like he's not acting as if this is his job. So I think that's like, even as a player, I'd have a hard time respecting that.
Yeah.
Like you're literally saying, like, well, I might not be here in 8 weeks, so let's just give this thing a go. And it's like, yo, dog, I gotta put food on the table for my family. Like I'm not here to be part of your science experiment in like your fantasy camp.
Yeah. And I've like, this isn't just my fan base that has called this man this, but like when he got hired and the tweet went out from Adam Schefter saying that now Jim Irsay has his inside band, that has his ear to the ground. He knows everything that's going to happen inside of his building and everything. He's just a bootlicker to me. That's all it is. I get that you're best friends with Jim Irsay and you've been around for many, many years. As a player, I look at you and say you're a bootlicker. You're somebody that every bit of information is going to go right back to Jim Irsay, an owner who has talked about how he knows how he can build successful organizations or franchises. Again, you rode the wave of Peyton Manning and you've been absolutely shit since. You got lucky with a generational talent and luck, and you weren't able to do it either. I come back and call him a bootlicker. I loved it when I read it, and I think it is the most true thing. This is somebody who's just either ear to the ground for Jim Irsay because he doesn't want to be in the building all the time.
Glad Caleb
right.
just the fucking power of positivity.
Colt, man. I'm not going to take any kindly to this. I'm not taking kindly to Colt shit. All right.
You better hope they don't just beat you guys later. You guys play them again this year?
We got one more. They have one more game.
You play them again this year? Or are you guys done with them?
Right? Do we play? No, we've already beat them.
Oh,
man,
twice.
Could you imagine if Jeff Saturday beat you? How bad you'd have to not show up on the show on Monday. You have to like pull a shame with the Steelers.
I would be, yeah.
Oh, it would be the greatest. That would be the greatest Sunday afternoon of my life if that ever happened. Anyways, we gotta wrap this bad boy up. We gotta wrap this up. We have Sunday Night Football happening. Not Lions. We were talking about the Lions way too much. Now they're stuck in my head. We got 49ers and Cardinals. And yeah, what do we like? What's everybody thinking? I'm thinking the 49ers are probably gonna win by double digits tonight.
Niners, double digits.
If the Niners win by double digits, and I know this just sounds so silly, but like, how hot is Cliff Kingsbury's seat? And who goes first? Is it Kime that gets canned first, or does Kingsbury get canned first? Those guys are both tied to the hip for 5 years together, right?
Well, I guess you'll find out if Cliff's gone.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like I need Chris McCaffrey to get 33 fantasy points, so I'm really hoping that happens tonight. I think it's doable because Arizona's defense is absolutely horrible, and Christian McCaffrey can't catch the ball too, so I think that's a big one. But yeah, I think this 49ers offense, it's now their third game, and their fourth week with all these weapons. I think it's time they have to start turning it up because unfortunately they have to keep up with the Eagles. And the Eagles did not lose yesterday. And now everybody's kind of playing for that second seed. And so I think that's kind of where it's at, where they have to be. The Vikings lost. So now you're only 2 games back on them. There's not a lot of time to make that up. So the 49ers got to really step up here because we all know Tampa's not going to do it. So it's going to have to be San Francisco to get that 2 seed.
Doesn't Jimmy get like $500,000 every time he gets a win, or is it like $250,000? I don't know. I thought it was $500,000.
$500,000.
Yeah,
like his contract ends up being like. Also, can we talk about that guy at the Golden State game?
At the Golden State game, just getting whined.
There's 3 minutes left. Yeah. And Kittle was loving his life.
Yeah.
He thought it was the greatest thing he's ever seen. Christian McCaffrey sitting there in awe.
Yeah.
I think he was just in awe. I couldn't believe that Jimmy Garoppolo was the best looking man in all of football, and every cheerleader made a point of going to say hi to him.
Yeah.
All right, guys. We got to wrap this bad boy up, though. We have a game starting in a couple minutes. Josh, thanks for stepping up. I feel like it's going to happen more
Awesome
and more this
talking to you
year
guys.
because whenever Shane Steelers lose, he somehow disappears. So you
Never
might be on the
mind.
show a lot more.
Yep. Thanks, Tyler,
Kalen,
guys.
it's always great to talk about the Titans and Colts with you. It always makes me really excited. And for once, my Bucs didn't lose. So, hey, it's a big weekend for me. Notre Dame won. Bucs didn't lose. I'll take it as a win.
All in all, great days. All right, boys,
All
great
right.
chatting with you as well. And we'll catch you next Monday, right?
Yeah, we'll be there.